For those who have come on these webinars before with WAGADA Digital, I would encourage you to feel free to ask questions. I'd encourage you to mute throughout the mainstay of the presentation, but to ask questions in the chat as we go. So you can pop a message publicly in the chat. If you'd like something to be addressed and it's sort of to do with your business or something that you want to remain anonymous with, please don't hesitate to drop me that message privately, and I will always raise it within the room, but in a confidential manner. There will also be an opportunity at the end to ask questions, either via the chat or by unmuting and hearing a bit more from you. We are recording this session, but the recording will be of the speaker. Please don't hesitate to keep your camera on. It's very, very nice to obviously see who it is that we are in the room with and who we're working with on this webinar. But alternatively, if you're more comfortable, then of course it's fine to remain with your camera off. Yeah, and that's about it. So leveraging HubSpot smart content to create personalized emails that convert. So for those who haven't met me, my name's Dan Jenkins. I'm head of client services here at WAGADA Digital. We successfully deliver online visibility and growth for ambitious clients across the UK. You've got my LinkedIn on there. If we're not yet connected on LinkedIn, let's make sure we get connected. I'm a big LinkedIner, and you got my personal email address there as well if you did want to follow up with anything after this webinar. But it's not all about me. I'm part of an incredible growing team of digital marketers, digital experts across 2 locations. So we have our kind of flagship office in St Albans in Hertfordshire. And then we also have our Cheltenham office in the west of England that I'm speaking to you from now. And we are a data-driven and strategy-led digital marketing agency. We have specialists that cover Google Ads, PPC, social media, both organic and paid, HubSpot specialists with as a HubSpot partner status, which Bex is going to be talking to you a little bit about shortly. And of course, search engine optimization, which we have our roots in as an agency. So we have grown into that full service data-driven digital agency with clients across the UK and internationally as well. So without further ado, what I'm now going to do is hand you over to the head of our digital transformation team at WAGADA. She is really excited to be delivering this webinar today. She's done some fantastic ones in the past on HubSpot. So I'm really excited. We had a catch up on what this one's all about, and there's some really, really good nuggets in there that I'm sure you're gonna love taking away. So Bex, without further ado, over to you.
What an introduction. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, so I'm Bex or Rebecca. I head up the digital transformation team here at WAGADA. Thank you all for being in the room today. It's always amazing when we set up these webinars to see so many people joining. As Dan said, I've done a couple of these now, and they are something that I get really passionate about doing. I love speaking about HubSpot and all the different features that you can use. So my team at WAGADA has now grown to 5, and we're all very passionate HubSpot specialists and web developers as well. So moving into HubSpot web builds very recently. So that's a little bit about me. Over the next half an hour or so, half an hour, 40 minutes, I'm going to be talking specifically about email campaigns within HubSpot and how we can personalize them more so that you are creating more of an engagement with your potential clients and your customers. I do tend to talk quite quickly when I'm excited about things. So if you find that I'm talking a bit fast, pop it in the chat and Dan will pull me up on it. He's definitely done it in the past. So, but that's a little bit about me. Hopefully we're going to be bringing you some value over the next 40 minutes or so. As Dan said, any questions or anything, pop them in the chat and I'll answer them as we go through, or I can answer them at the end. But I think a good place to start off today is with a little bit of semantics, really, and thinking about how personalization within email and smart content are different things. So personalization over the years has become a kind of catch-all for anything that we do within any kind of marketing campaign that feels a bit more tailored to the person or the audience that we're sending it to. When you think about personalization and content, particularly in the way that HubSpot differentiate it, they are 2 separate things. And the way that I like to think about it is personalization is about the warm and fluffy. It's about those little nuggets and facts and I'm going to say personal again, things that you know about your contacts that you can just drop in to make them feel like this email or this piece of communication is directed entirely at them. Very much what Rachel was saying about being a spark of vitality. It's about that warm and fluffy feeling that when you get that little message with your name in, it makes you feel like it's just for you. Smart content or dynamic content, on the other hand, is more about looking at your audience in terms of their behaviors and their interests. So it's not so much about those little text nuggets or those fact-based pieces of information, but it's more about thinking about what they've engaged with in the past, what their particular interests are, what they might be resonate with in terms of your products and your services, that you can then tailor your message to bring those particular products and services to that group of people that you've identified as being interested in them. So this will make a bit more sense as we go through and you'll see the differences, but I just wanted to bring that to the forefront right at the beginning, so that we can see that while I'm going to use personalization as an umbrella term, personalization and smart dynamic content are slightly different within the realms of HubSpot, and particularly email marketing within HubSpot. So just to show that, and I'll be popping into the platform a bit later on to show it in more detail, but if you are using HubSpot at the minute, you're probably already using email campaigns to some extent, and you've probably already seen this personalization token. This is what allows you to add those warm and fluffies. It's what allows you to add people's names in to email. So the most common one is hi first name. And you can actually add into here anything that you've got in your CRM that's saved into a field within the contact or the company record. One thing that we use this for really successfully is to signpost our customers to the right person, so we can tailor our email messages so that if we're sending it out to a client, for example, we can make sure that we add in their account lead's name for them to get back in contact with. So that's a way of personalizing a message with just little snippets of text, and it does, as I say, it makes you feel like it's directed at you as a person. Excuse me. And if you're not using personalization tokens at the minute, I do recommend you go in and have a play with them, have a look at what you could be using them for. They do obviously add to your messaging. And it's basically the first step in personalizing any emails and any marketing communications that you do within HubSpot.
Just on this, Bex, sorry, we just had a question come through, and it might be good to reference this just in general. Does any of this require a HubSpot marketing account, or can it be achieved with a sales account? So it'd be good maybe to chat through as we're doing this what account, what the capabilities are with what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so email marketing within HubSpot is obviously part of the Marketing Hub, but you can do very basic emails with the sales account. So you would need to have a subscription for the Marketing Hub to be able to add smart rules. Personalization, I believe, is available. So that token is available in the sales account. But you would need to, we can have a look at it separately. Who's that said that? Vincent. We can have a look at your account and see where you are afterwards if you want us to. But yes, marketing emails are available just on the sales side. Does that help answer the question? Cool. So yeah, that's your personalization token. Smart rules then take that personalization a little bit further and allow you to use the information that you've got within your HubSpot CRM to create more personalized modules and show different content to different people. If you've played with this again within the account, you will know that when you come in to create an email, when you hover over a module, you will always get this little more button. And some of you might have wondered what add smart rule has meant in the past. That's about adding this dynamic content. When you click on that, you will then get this side panel come up, which gives you two options and two ways that you can segment your data within HubSpot and start to create those groups of people that you want to change the content for. Within email, you can do it in two ways. So you can do it in lists and on life cycle stages. Something to note here, if anyone is using the HubSpot CMS for their website, you can use smart rules on website pages as well, and you get a lot more flexibility of how you do that because it's done with anonymized data. So that's a completely different thing, and if anyone's interested in talking more about that, either reach out to me and I can go through that separately, or we might actually do another webinar on it as well if there's enough appetite, because there is a lot of personalization you can do on your website as well using smart rules. But just going back to emails, the smart rules, as I said, is how it takes it further, and we'll jump in to see how easy that is within the platform in a few minutes' time. Email personalization is nothing new. I'm very much doubt I'm going to say anything today in terms of what emails look like that is going to shock you. We've all got really, really used to seeing personalized emails. You know, we've all got used to seeing our names in subject lines. We've all got used to seeing content that is directed at us. And at first it seemed like magic. It seemed like we were going, oh, how did they know that I was interested in that? And I certainly thought it was magic at the time, but as you learn more, you kind of get used to it. And there is some data out there now that actually says people get annoyed if it's not personalized. We are that used to email personalization now that if it's not personalized, that's when we notice it. Give you a little I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtain of my life here, which I'm a bit scared that I've done it, to be honest. Firstly, can we not judge me on the 4,000 unopened emails in my Gmail account, please? I would like to use that as testament to the fact that some companies get this wrong because I don't open their emails. And I do actually, I sign up to a lot of stuff. But this is a snapshot from my Gmail account a couple of days ago and taken over 7 days. And you can see there that they're all trying to give me the warm and fluffies. I would say about 75% of those have used a personalization token in their subject line to me. Just on Rachel's "You're a spark of vitality" Planthood are asking me to boost my mood. I don't know why they think I'm in a bad mood, but they're asking me to boost my mood. And these are clever. These are good. I feel like Planthood actually care about me, and Dr. Martens really want to welcome me to the crowd. But it's not new. We are used to seeing this, and it's not until you actually put it into a context like this and go through and highlight it like I did that you realize just how common it is. If you are not using this currently in your email marketing, it's something I urge you to do really, really soon. It's really easy to do, and it does make a difference. But what's interesting is these companies.
Sorry, just on that, I've had a
Yeah.
question come through privately, so I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
Somebody's asked, does it help with spam filters? But I'm not sure. Does it, you know, when you have the name in the subject line, I think, versus generic, is there anything in that, or?
Yeah, so it is important to think about spam filters when you're thinking about your subject lines. So there are obviously words that you shouldn't use. Using personalization can help because it will help with open rates. So it's going to help you sort out those spam filters going forward as well. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Little thumbs up there from Dan. That was nice. Okay. Yeah, so what I found interesting though when I actually did open some of these and looking at it from, you know, thinking about this webinar today is the types of emails that I then clicked into when I got there. We're going to come back to this slide later on so that we can kind of analyze a bit more how it's not magic. But just a few that I picked up on that they'd called me out by name in the subject line, and then they'd actually thought about who I am whilst presenting this content to me. So the first one there is Jet2 holidays. So I've booked to go to Athens in a few weeks' time with Jet2, but I haven't actually got around to booking my baggage, my seat, my meal, anything like that. So what they're trying to do here is pull me down that upsell route. They're trying to say to me, it's great that you're coming, but actually, have you thought about all of these other things that I can offer you? And when I opened that, actually, it did make me think, I do need to book my seat at some point. So that's a really nice way to pull people through if you've got things to upsell to them. I've seen this kind of visual and this kind of method work really well as well for SaaS companies. So anything that you've got where you're either onboarding and there's steps that people need to take, or if you've got a a system where people have got different usage limits. You can actually like showcase usage limits within an email like this, and then you can push people to upgrade if they need more and things. So that kind of drawing people through the funnel email is really common, and it does work really well as well. Moving over to Planthood here. No, I've never bought anything from Planthood, but when I signed up, I did tell them that I had a preference towards vegetarian menus. So this is really good what they've done here. Instead of just sending me a general, this is our menu for the week, they've actually personalized it to me by saying that these are the vegetarian, it's actually quite a decent menu, the vegetarian menu options for this week. Now, if they had come in here and said they've got a beef bourguignon on their menu this week, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't be clicking through to that. But the fact that they've actually bothered to take on board my preferences and change this to me has made a difference, and maybe I will buy from them at some point soon. Finally, Udemy. Probably a lot of people are familiar with this. Udemy is an online course database and e-commerce platform where you can buy online courses. Again, they will regularly send out kind of, these are our latest courses, but because they know what I bought previously, I've been doing a lot of work around agile project management over the last few months. So they've suggested these recommendations for me. This kind of thing is what most of us are most familiar with, that kind of recommended, here's what you might like kind of content. Amazon was probably the first one to do it, and we're all very used to saying, because you bought this, you might now want to buy this as well. All really, really common things, but it's not until you actually think about, oh, that's personalized to me, that you start to wonder how they do it. So as I say, we'll come back to this a bit later on when we've actually had a look at how it's done, so we can see that it doesn't actually take that long. It's not magic at all. So I've mentioned a couple of times that this does work, and Dan mentioned at the beginning that we are a data-driven agency. Anyone that's joined my webinars previously will know I'm obsessed with stats, and as an agency, we don't recommend marketing techniques that aren't backed up with data. So we always want to look for the data, look for the research, and make sure that we're doing the best thing at the right time. And there is so much data out there to back up the effectiveness of personalization in email marketing. So if we just start at the top there, the open rates are the first thing. If you're giving me the warm and fuzzies in the subject line, I'm much more likely to open that email. On average, it's 26%. I've seen it go as high as 50% more compared to generic subject lines. So that as a first step, something you should always do, get your email opened, and then you can draw them in with your content inside there. Once you've drawn them in, if you're then using that smart and dynamic content, you can expect to see much higher transaction rates. On average, across all industries, you're looking at about 6 times more. You can't guarantee that, obviously, but that's just what the data is telling us at the minute. And it makes sense. It makes sense that if you're showing people products or services that you already know they've shown an interest in, they're more likely to continue down that funnel and buy them. That then leads on to obviously a higher ROI compared to generic email. So again, it's across all industry metric, but ROI is currently sitting at about 122% as a median for dynamic and smart content within emails. And the big one, and the one that I don't think any of us can ignore, is the increase in revenue. I'm not saying just by doing one email, dynamic email marketing campaign, that you're going to increase your revenue by 760%. But this survey was taken from a lot of marketers over a lot of different industries, and they are noting as much as that much. So even if you're increasing revenue by 20%, 30% for the amount of time that it takes you to create personalized emails within HubSpot and how easy it can be, it's definitely worth doing, even for a slight uplift in a slight uplift in revenue. But we are seeing stats that are coming through at as high as 760%, which is huge. You can't afford to ignore that kind of data. So that's why we're doing it, and that's why we think you should be doing it as well. So before we talk about how we how we create that content for your different audiences, we need to talk a little bit about segmentation of data within the HubSpot CRM. Data hygiene is a big thing of mine. It's a big thing of my teams as well. Because there's nothing more frustrating when you're trying to create segmented marketing campaigns and lists where you've got slightly dirty data in your system. So you're not able to put people into the right categories and into the right buckets. So that means that you might not show them the right information. The other thing, particularly with personalization tokens, is if you haven't got that those fields correct, you are in danger of upsetting, might be a strong word, but alienating your potential audience and the people receiving your emails. If, for example, you haven't put a capital letter on their first name, or you've missed out their first name completely, or you've a spelling mistake, something like that. It's little things, but it all makes a difference to those open rates and to the conversion rates that you might see. So I do urge everybody to have a look at your data hygiene before you start working on any of this content creation. Again, my team can help you with that. If you need a little bit of help, we can do some audits and we can help you with data cleansing as well. So reach out if you've got a concern about that, and we can certainly help you, but definitely consider that before you go into segmentation. But once you've got your data in a place where you're convinced that it is clean and it's healthy and it's giving you everything that you want, there are two ways, as I said, that you can segment and data within HubSpot to then pull in different content for different groups of people within your emails. The first way to do that is through lists. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with creating lists in HubSpot already. There's two types of lists. So you've got an active list, which changes the status of somebody depending on their behaviors and where they are in a certain journey. And then you've got static lists, which are a snapshot in time, and that helps you to group together people that you know bits of information on. So if, for example, they have attended a webinar, you can add them to a list that says they attended this webinar. You can create lists on absolutely anything. I've just noted on the right hand side there some things that you might want to think about when you're creating lists for creating content in email marketing. The big one is persona. So particularly if you are working with companies, or you're trying to attract companies where the decision makers or the decision making unit within that company is quite big, and you're trying to talk to lots of different people. So you might be talking to the end buyer and to the end user, and they want to be spoken to in completely different ways. So if you create lists with their personas in, you can then create content that talks to those people differently depending on their influence on that decision-making unit. Some other things that you might want to think about segmenting into is industry. So if you've got a lot of products or services that you offer, they might be different depending on the industry that you're trying to attract. You might offer one product to one industry and one to another. So if you've got your contacts segmented into industries, you can then create content dynamically on that. Page views and email engagements, that's talking about the behavior that I was talking about before. If you know somebody has only ever visited one particular product page on your website, don't present them with information on a different product. Tell them more about that product until they buy it, because they're obviously already interested in it. Same with email engagements. Somebody is always engaging with emails on a certain service that you offer, or they've downloaded white papers on a certain topic. Try and provide them more of that rather than just generic things and company generic information. The last one that I've put on there is country. And the reason I've done that is because I know that a lot of the businesses in the rooms might be working internationally, and you might have markets abroad that might speak different languages. I would be quite careful with this one. So HubSpot will allow you to change modules and translate them into different languages. So based on the country that somebody is in, or you've got them in, it will translate into that language. I don't recommend it for big swathes of text, but it could work well if you're sending out emails that are mainly image based and you just need to translate a little bit of it. if you want to do fully translated campaigns, that's something that you need to think about separately, but it is something that can be done, and it can save a lot of time by doing it using dynamic content. So that's lists. Think about it for your own business. Think the recording stopped, and I don't know why. No, don't know why that happened. Apologies.
Don't worry, it's back recording. Apologies.
Dan hit something. We don't know why. Yeah, so lists, think about your own, think about your target customers, think about how you can group them together, what's important to them, and then create lists based on that.
Bex, there's a great question come through. It's probably a good time just to quickly interject with it now. Surrounding lists, if you have an individual in more than one list, is it possible to ensure that they aren't getting multiple emails, or is it best to ensure you don't have multiple people in multiple lists? So again, it's that thing of going, we want to make sure we have personalized content. We don't want them getting duplicate stuff because they're on 2 different mailing lists and different messages and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of a reason they would be on multiple lists and you're trying to duplicate this anyway. But what will happen if somebody is on a multiple, if they're on multiple lists and you've created a module that's going to more than one list, it will always, HubSpot basically works in chronological order. It will go to the first one first. Does that make sense?
So I think if there's 2, let's say this is quite a crass example, but let's say you had like a list of all your customers.
Yep.
Let's say there was 1,000 on this single list, and then you had a list of engaged customers, which was about 200, and maybe there was some crossover or something. I'm not sure. It's how would you differentiate, or would you be able to, I guess, put a rule in place so that the message, if they were getting it from one, that would be prioritized over the other, if you see what I mean? It's a bit of a crude example, but I think
I think it will make more sense when I jump into the platform.
There you go. Yeah, so example, I have different interests, both beef and mushroom bourguignon. Bourguignon.
Now, so in that scenario, I love that. In that scenario, I would suggest that email would probably go out with a more generic text. So you'll see when we come into the platform, you have to set a generic text first. Then what you change is things that are really specific. So it will never go out twice. You won't get 2 separate emails, one saying I'm on a list for beef and I'm on a list for mushroom. What will probably happen in that case is you would want to set it to they get the generic one because they're interested in everything. They're not fussy. They just want a bourguignon. So does that help? I'm looking over here as well, sorry, because that's where I've put you. I think it will make more sense when we jump into the platform, but if not, let me know. And yes, Charlotte, you're right. You can exclude other lists as you go in. So that's normally in your sending settings. You can exclude lists in your settings as well. So the other way that you can segment within emails and set different content up is using lifecycle stages. Again, if you're using HubSpot, you're probably familiar with this. The lifecycle stages basically segment your contacts into where they are within their buying journey, going right from subscriber, which is usually someone that's right at the top of the funnel. They've literally just got awareness of you and they've maybe signed up to a newsletter. Going all the way down to evangelist, which are your customers that are now acting as advocates for your company, and they're probably referring people to you now as well. You can change lifecycle stages now in HubSpot, which was a game changer when that happened about a year ago. So you can tailor this to your own business, but these are just the default ones. And you are going to want to talk to these people differently in your marketing communications. You're going to want to talk to a subscriber and a lead in quite a generic way. You're going to want to tell them more about your company, more about your service offerings, because you don't really know enough about them yet to tailor it properly. Conversely, when you come down to customers, for example, you might want to be giving them upsell opportunities. You might also want to be giving them extra offers that you're not giving to anybody else yet. So there are, again, this is another way that you can segment your data, segment your contacts, and then make sure that you're providing them with the right message at the right time for them. Cool. So that brings us to jumping into the platform. At this point, is everything resonating with everyone? Is there any concerns, questions? I'm looking at the chat and there aren't, so that's potentially a good thing, maybe. Okay, so I'm just going to jump out of here and jump into the platform now. Okay, little thumbs up if you can see HubSpot now. Thank you, Daniel. So we're peeking behind the curtain again a little bit here, because what you're seeing on your screen now is the email that a lot of you probably got to bring you to this webinar. First of all, this is the email marketing communications that we send out regularly for our webinars. For the purpose of this exercise, we're going to pretend that this is a paid for webinar. And actually what I want to do is I've got my standard default text that I'm going to send out to my mailing list, but I want to talk differently to people that I know are already using HubSpot, and I want to talk differently to my to WAGADA's current clients as well. So I'm going to be using both that list segmentation and the life cycle segmentation within this email to change things around. So as I come into the email here and just hover over a module, you'll see that we've got every module that I come into, you've got this more button at the top, and that's regardless of the type of module that we're looking at. So this is a text module. This is, oh, made a mess. Come back. The joys of doing it live, right? As a text module, this one's an image module. You scroll down here, we've got button modules. You've got some more images down here. You've also got the options to do video modules and product modules as well. All of these things can be tailored and personalized with smart content. So if I just pop in first to this top title, and I want to change this for people that I know are already using HubSpot, because if you're already using HubSpot, maybe you don't want to discover, maybe you know a bit more about HubSpot's wording. So maybe you know a bit more about the term smart rules and you've actually been wondering what that's about. So I want to change this header. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop into add smart rule here at the top, click on that, and you'll see I get this sidebar come in that we looked at on those slides earlier. It's obviously a bit easier to see now. And it's going to ask you what you want to show different content based on. And that's when it gives you the option of picking either your list membership or your lifecycle stage. So I've created a list in HubSpot already of contacts that I know are using HubSpot. And I'm just going to pop in there and bring that list up and select that that's what I want to change. Save it down here at the bottom as normal. So now when we come back into the email, we can see up here, we get an indication that this is now a smart module. Now to change that content in there, what we want to do is click into the module and pay attention over here on the left-hand side. We don't want to just change it in here because that will change it in the default email. What we want to do is come over here and where you see editing for, if you drop that down, that will now bring you in that list that we've just decided we want to create new content for. So we change that into is using HubSpot. Now we can go in and change this content here. So what I'm going to do is just delete that out and pop in one I prepared earlier. There we go. So this is the new headline that I've decided I want to present to anybody that's I'm inviting to this webinar and is already using HubSpot. You can change this. You know, we now go back to normal HubSpot editing rules. Change your colors, change your font sizes, anything you want to do. Just to bring that up. I feel like that needs to be in bold as well. So you just change it like that. Now what you can do here, just to check that you've done it right, is you can see there, this text is showing is using HubSpot. And if we go back to the default, we get back to our original headline. So really easy to do. And that's taken me, what, a minute, I think. So, and we've changed the headline there. Now, the next thing I want to do is probably come down and give a little bit more information for those people that are using HubSpot already. Talk to them a bit more in a way, in language that's more for them. So talk to them a bit more. I don't know who it was that was saying about somebody's talking about challenges, but that's the sort of thing you might want to add into here as well. So again, we just pop into the module that we need. You can see there, we've got the personalization token in, by the way. Everybody should use this. Pop into the module that we need. Again, add smart rule. And we're going to pick the same list again. There we go. So again, you can now see that both of these modules are using a smart module rule. And if we click into this one, again, go over to editing for and make sure I'm editing it for the right people. Then what we do is pop over here and add in anything extra that I want to add in. Okay. Oh, there we go. Don't know why we've got a random question mark in there. I was obviously confused. So we've added that in. Again, style it up, do what you need to do to make it fit with the rest of the style of your emails. Obviously, make sure you're checking your default content for anything duplicated, because you don't want to add that in there. And you can see now that this is, when we are in the is using HubSpot rule, we've got slightly different text to if we look at the default one. Obviously, this needs a bit more styling up, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to do that right now. The other thing then that I want to do is I want to send this out to our clients that are already using us to say that they don't need to pay for it, and we've got a code for them. So to do that, what I need to do is actually add a new module, because there isn't a module in here that's going to say that for me right now. So what I'm going to do, same way as you would normally in HubSpot emails, is I'm just going to drag a module in, and you can add any kind of module from that left-hand side. I'm just going to add a text module for now. Take out this. And pop in whatever your offer, text, whatever you need to put in there. And just going to style that up a bit, make it a bit more prominent. No, I'm not. I'm going to change that because who spotted my deliberate mistake? Didn't make it smart before I started. So go back. I've added in my module. Sorry about that. I've added in my module. I need to make it a smart rule. And for this one, we're going to make this module smart based on life cycle stage. You can add in multiple life cycle stages here, and it will only send to it'll only send one email out. So I'm just going to add it in as customer. Save that. We're in a smart module, and I'm going to click to edit. Now, over here, you can see on the default, I've got nothing in this block. I'm going to leave it like that as well, because for the majority of people on our mailing list, we don't want to give them an offer. What I do want to do is if they are a customer, so editing over here for customer, that's when I want to add in that text that I did incorrectly a second ago. So there is a process to it, and you just need to get your head around doing that process and make sure that you're always checking over here what you're editing for, so that you don't get it into the default one. But I think that quite simply gives you an insight into how easy it is to add and change things depending on your lifecycle stages and your list memberships. You can be really creative with this. You can literally change as much of this email as you want to, and you can add in different pictures, different videos, different calls to action, depending on who your audience is for this email. But in the interest of time, I've just done some really quick ones there. To show you what that looks like then for different people when they receive it, what I'm going to do is pop in here to the preview section. So this is going to preview your emails for you. Again, you might be familiar with this. And what I'm going to do is preview it as some different people. So if I preview this as Daniel, I don't know why I keep calling you Daniel this morning either. So I preview this as Dan.
Must have done something wrong. I must be
You
in
must have done
trouble.
something wrong. It's because you're in the
Yeah.
system as Daniel. So if I preview this as Dan, because Dan's not on that list of people that is using HubSpot, and because he's not a customer of WAGADA, he's going to be getting the generic email that everybody else is getting. So you can see there's no offer in there. The headline is the same as the default one, and he's not got that extra bit of text in. If I then preview it as Charlotte, and this one. So Charlotte, I know, is on my list of people that is currently using HubSpot. So you can see on this one, she's getting a different email to Dan. We've still only got one email in the platform. We've just changed certain parts of it. So she's getting the same email as Dan with this differing headline and this extra little bit of content created just for her. What she's not getting is that offer that's for the customers. That's not being pulled in. Then if I have a look at it as one of our clients, and Louise, if you are in the room, this is because I was looking at your email this morning. So you're on my mind. I will get back to you. So if we look at it as Louise, who is one of our customers, Louise is not on the is using HubSpot list. If she was, she would be seeing that amended headline here as well as the offer at the bottom, but she's not. So she's seeing the default messaging here at the top, the default messaging in the middle, but she's now getting pulled in this. She's getting pulled in this offer for her as well. So that's a bit of a whirlwind tour into how it's used. There's so much more you can do. More than happy if you reach out to us once you've had to think about how you can use this to help you work it out and put some use cases together. But for now, hopefully that's given you a good overview of where you are and what you can do in the platform. Just finally, what I want to do is jump back in now, back to these emails that we looked at earlier, so that you can hopefully now see how these might have been done. And if you were trying to create this in HubSpot, how you would do it and how you would segment it. So with the Jet2 one, really simple, this one. You would set up different lists for has booked in Athens and has booked, for example, their baggage. And that would send a different email just saying, right, you're further down your list now. Do you want to next book your seat? So that could be done quite easily on list basis. Again, with my mushroom bourguignon over here, this is again done on list and based on interest. And this would just have changed one module in here to based on my interest. With the Udemy one, this is probably using both what would be the equivalent of the life cycle stages, depending on which platform they're using. So to say that it's recommended to me, this might be something that they've said, right, is a customer. And again, these will have been pulled in based on a list that tells them that I have previously bought or have been on a web page or have shown some sort of interest in these things. So hopefully that helps, and that kind of gives you an idea of how you can bring all these things together to make your emails look like you've spent a lot of time on them and look like they're really, really personalized, but actually it's quite simple to do. And as we showed in those stats earlier, really worth putting the time into as well. And that's it. That's got me to 20 past 10, which is madness. But that's all I'm going to go through today on this. As I say, questions we'll do in a second. And if anyone wants to reach out for more information, I'm more than happy to talk to you. There is just one more thing I want to mention before I hand back to Dan to talk about our next webinar and to take questions. A little bit of breaking news. Some of you may have seen that on Monday, HubSpot rolled out a couple of new AI-based features. The biggest one is something called ChatSpot, which is a AI powered app that they have built themselves to integrate with HubSpot accounts, and it's going to make it incredibly easy for you to start interrogating your data better without necessarily using all of the features that are in there. So it works on the exact same premise as ChatGPT. It's actually built with the OpenAI platform. So if anyone's seen anything about that, you are literally asking it a question. Things like, tell me how many people in my account are in Germany, that sort of thing. So it's going to be really powerful. It did only come out on Monday. My team are furiously playing with it and testing use cases to see how useful it's going to be for people. But if this is something you're interested in, keep an eye on our socials and on our blogs as well over the next few weeks, because we're going to be putting out some information on use cases and things. And if you do want to sign up to the alpha version of this, just pop over to chatspot.ai. You can sign up with your HubSpot account. There is a short waiting list, but it took us 24 hours to get in, and I imagine that's slowed down a little bit now, so you'll probably get in quite quickly to have a play with it. But something I'm really excited about, and I'm sure there will be a webinar on it at some point. And that's it for me. Thank you for listening to me. Dan, I'm going to hand back to you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Bex. Really, really appreciate that. Great webinar. There's loads in there. We are going to open up to questions in a moment, and I had one come through that's a really good question that I'm going to run through in a sec as well. So we'll start with that one. But yeah, just to draw your attention to our next webinar, which is going to be taking place in April, GA4, the final countdown there. If you haven't yet transitioned from Universal Analytics, the old Google Analytics, to the new version of Analytics, GA4, then absolutely now is the time to do that. So if you want to come onto a webinar where I'll give you a bit of an insight into GA4 and what you need to be doing between now and when the old Google Analytics switches off for your website, then please do get yourself booked on to that one. Again, it's completely free of charge. You'll get the link in the follow-up comms. It's on Eventbrite, and it'd be great to see you there. So Bex, if you just want to maybe remove the screen share just so that we can see some more faces, that'd be great. And then I'd just quite like to raise this one question that came through. It's a great question. So
there was a lot of faces came back on my screen when I did that.
So the context of this one, this business is using Vincia as its CRM system, which I believe does sync with HubSpot, or there's a form of integration. Okay. But the question is, does HubSpot sync with your CRM? For example, in this case, if we were to have a list of sort of let's say from a recruitment perspective, if there's a list of candidates that haven't been placed, and then 2 weeks later some of them get placed. Yep. Once that comes out of the contact list on the CRM, so their status is changing within the CRM, will that then automatically change in the HubSpot contacts? So in this case, the CRM is not, it's not fully closed-ended HubSpot. This is a separate CRM system. Yeah. But if the status of that contact in the CRM changes, what impact will that have on the contact list for marketing communications within HubSpot?
So that's going to depend on how your integration is set up. So it's going to depend on the mapping and the workflows that were set up at the time that you did the integration. There's not a definitive answer to that, unfortunately, because you can set it up so that whatever happens in one will happen in the other. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know who asked this question either, but without seeing what you've already done, I can't give you a definitive answer.
We can reach out afterwards as well. I'll give you a shout,
I was going to say, I'm more than happy if you want to reach out afterwards. Give me some access to your account. Either myself or one of my team can jump in and have a look, and actually have a look at what you're trying to achieve as well, because that will affect how we set up those workflows and the mapping.
But in principle, if that's done effectively, Bex, and that migration happens, then
100%.
If it happens on one,
100%. Anything that you're doing in one platform can be replicated in another. It's just a case of how you do that.
Fab. Thank you.
All right.
Did anybody have any more questions? I'm conscious I addressed 3 or 4 kind of throughout the session, but obviously if anybody did have any questions now is the time to either pop them in the chat or please do feel free to unmute whilst we're on the call. No,
I always wonder if that means I've bored people or I've answered all the questions. Never sure.
I'm never fully sure as well, because I'll say that and then I'll be about to press the quit button and this question will come through. So I just wanted to make sure. Fab. Okay, brilliant. Well, listen, folks, thank you so much. It's been another great session. It's been really good to see you on here. We will send the follow-up. You'll get full access to the deck. You'll get full access to the recording of the session as well, so that some of those key bits you can watch back at your leisure. Please don't hesitate to get yourself booked onto our next one on the 18th of April on GA4. It'll be absolutely fab to see you there. Some lovely comments coming through privately, and also ones just popped up here publicly. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Wishing you all the very best with your HubSpot journey, and look forward to speaking again soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
later.
you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.